My name is Carolyn Mugar, and I've been at Farm Aid for 30 years. I can't even remember when I met Shirley. It was probably about 30 years ago. Shirley has experienced racism and discrimination throughout her entire life. Her life is marked by fighting for civil rights and the rights of family farmers. Listen to what she does in the face of extreme odds, always choosing to work within her community.
My name is Shirley Sherrod, and I grew up on a farm in Baker County, Georgia, and had no intention of actually being a part of any farming operation or any farm work. But during my senior year of high school, my father was murdered by a white farmer. So I made the decision to stay in the South and devote my life to working for change. So I started initially with the civil rights movement in the rural area, and that means working with people who lived and worked and owned farms. Growing up in Baker County, where we were really locked down in the county, you couldn't ride through there without being stopped, and you could be beaten or you could be killed. That was the system we lived in. My father and others were meeting secretly to start the civil rights movement. Now, I don't know whether that's the reason why he was murdered by this farmer or not, but this farmer, he had an adjoining farm, and some of his cows had actually gotten into our pasture, and we met him the day before he murdered my father on the road as we were going to church, and he said he was coming for the cow the next day. When they gathered at the pasture, the white farmer tried to claim other cows in our pasture. He and my father argued. My father told him, "We don't have to continue this. We can just go to court." And he shot him. The grand jury, which was a local white grand jury, refused to indict him. So nothing was ever done. My father would be so proud of the work that I've done through the years. I think of him often, and that's what drove me so much to help other farmers. I'll never forget the first cooperative that I organized. It was in my home county. So I'm dealing with these older men who were really my father's friends, and what can she tell us? Was kind of the attitude. It was that they knew me as a little girl, and then I'm a woman too. One farmer had called me. He received a letter saying they had given him an appointment to come into the office. So this farmer called and asked if I would go with him. The county supervisor started telling the farmer that he would be foreclosing on the farm. He's just going on, and he's quoting regulation that was, he was totally off base with it. It was old regulation, and we had new regulation. So I stopped him, and I said, "Will you put that in writing?" Now, see, I think he probably knew he was not saying the right thing, but he would have gotten by with that if I hadn't been there knowing that what he was saying was not the current regulation. He said, "I ain't put nothing in writing." And then each time he made a decision, we would appeal. After quite some time working on it, it ended, and that farmer has the farm, that family, they have the farm today. I guess it was because of that work that when President Obama was elected, others were contacting me saying, "We've never had a person of color in the state office. It's time to try." And I had no thought that I would actually become state director. So it was a real surprise for me when I received a call from the White House saying I had been selected as Georgia's state director of rural development, first person of color in the state office in Georgia. But I didn't get to serve a whole year. Being the first person of color, I got requests all the time to come and speak or to come to the various communities. So I had agreed to speak at a NAACP banquet. And I used that time again, as I had done for 24 years, to talk about racism and my transformation. It was really heavy on my mind because that date was the anniversary date of my father's funeral. Apparently someone, I suspect it was someone who worked in the agency who wanted me out, who actually sent that speech to the blogger, and that led to the blogger editing the speech to make it appear that in my position, I refused to help a white farmer. USDA and the administration were embarrassed after they forced me to resign, but a lot of that was because so many of my friends around the country stood up to say this was wrong. You know, when I even ride through some of the area in southwest Georgia now and can point to a farm and say, you know, I helped to save that farm, that's such a good feeling, knowing that the system tried to take them out and we worked so hard to keep them there.